Hello everyone. Today, we will study the paper separation and conveying process of the pneumatic continuous sheet feeding device. First, let's look at the composition of the feeding device. The feeding device mainly consists of the sheet separation mechanism, paper alignment mechanism, sheet transport mechanism, paper stack lifting mechanism, and detection system. Among these, the pneumatic continuous feeding device's sheet separation mechanism is also called the feed head, separation head, or feeder head. Its function is to periodically separate individual sheets from the paper stack one by one and forward them to the feed rollers. The paper alignment mechanism primarily ensures the neat alignment of the paper stack's front edge. The sheet transport mechanism is responsible for further conveying the sheets delivered by the feed suction nozzles to the register unit for precise positioning. The paper stack lifting mechanism automatically raises the paper stack to meet the requirements of sheet separation and features functions such as rapid lifting and lowering and self-locking. The detection system monitors the feeding status for any abnormalities. From the schematic diagram of the sheet separation mechanism's working position, we can see that it mainly includes separator suction nozzles, feed suction nozzles, paper presser blowing nozzle, paper loosening blowing nozzle, auxiliary components such as paper stop brushes, steel separation plates, and presser blocks. The movements of the separator suction nozzle, feed suction nozzle, and paper presser blowing nozzle are all driven by cams on the feeder head's camshaft, working in coordination to achieve sheet separation and transfer. Working cycle of sheet separation and conveying. Paper loosening blowing nozzle blows air to loosen the top several to a dozen sheets of paper, allowing them to contact the paper stop brushes for easier separation. Separator suction nozzle descends to its lowest position, sucks the top loosened sheet, and lifts it to separate it from the stack. Then, the separator suction nozzle rises to suck up the paper. Feed suction nozzle moves backward to prepare for receiving the sheet. While the paper loosening blowing nozzle stops blowing, paper presser blowing nozzle inserts beneath the lifted sheet, presses the stack, and blows air to ensure complete separation of the top sheet. The paper presser blowing nozzle continues to blow air, while the paper feeding suction nozzle grips the paper. After a short period, during which both the separator suction nozzles and the feeding suction nozzle hold the paper together, the separator suction nozzle stops suction and releases the paper, completing the handover of the paper from the separating nozzle to the feeding nozzle. The paper loosening air nozzle stops blowing air and begins to lift, while the paper feeding suction nozzle, still gripping the paper, starts to feed it forward. The paper feeding suction nozzle transports the paper forward. The front paper stop tilts forward to allow the paper to pass through smoothly, and the paper pressing wheel lifts. The feed suction nozzle delivers the sheet to the feed rollers, where the paper pressing wheel lowers to grip the sheet. The sheet is propelled onto the feed board by friction between the presser roller and feed rollers. The feed suction nozzle stops suction and releases the sheet, while the front paper stopper returns to its position. A mechanical double sheet detector checks for double sheets on the feed rollers. The paper feeding suction nozzle moves backward, and the front paper stop returns to its paper stopping position. The sheet continues moving forward on the feed board under presser rollers and feed belts or vacuum belts. Upon reaching the register unit, the sheet undergoes front and side registration before entering the printing unit. This concludes the sheet separation and conveying process of the feeding device. That's all for today's lesson.